Good afternoon and welcome back, ladies, gents and Pikachus, to another breakdown and analysis of the Quran of the Muslims. But no, we're not doing the actual Quran. We're going to carry on reading The Art of War, which is a more modern version with the same disgusting evil military doctrines that the Islam people are using. But it is supposedly written by a Chinese general. Now, you can take it from me, this guy never actually really existed. This is like a ghostwriter. So it's going to be a hauntingly bad recital from me because I've got a little bit of a headache, probably from this light shining in my face. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the music. That was Final Fantasy Battle Theme from the second disc, done by a good friend of mine on his guitar. And I've got to say, I really love that. So just going to set my microphone up. So yeah, let me know if the sound is a little bit weird, too quiet or too loud, because I can't hear myself. Show me the Evercade. I'll go on then, since it's you. Right. This little beauty is an Evercade VSR. I don't know what the R stands for. Probably re-release. Comes with the Tomb Raider collection, 1, 2, and 3. I paid the princely sum of £84.99 for this. And as you can see, it's rather fetching. So I'll add that to my collection. I've got all the Evercade consoles, games, and everything else there. So might do a video on that in future, actually, if anyone's interested. But not today. Right now, we're going to go through the evils of the art of war. And the reason we're going to keep going through this, and I can attest this has been happening to me, these scummy, evil, backstabbing tactics are exactly what the Islam people, the Muslims, the Quran of the Muslims, those guys are using against us right now and across the world in their open jihad. And when I say I've personally experienced this, I've had my computer hacked, I have been accused of crime, I have been thrown out of my GP surgery. Someone wrote them a letter claiming to be me and said some really horrible, nasty things to the doctors there. So they thought it was me, chucked me out. These are the kind of backstabbing tactics that we are going to have to learn how to detect and deal with as they ramp up their jihad in the coming months. Obviously, I didn't write any letter to my GP. That's nonsense. But I mean, there's been tons of stuff like that. They've been in my mail. Like I said, they hacked my computer, doxed me, all these things. And the reason they are doing this is because it's the art of war to stab someone in the back. So they don't know that you're attacking them. They don't know it's you, but the attack still has, it's still a good attack. So anyway, let's carry on where we left off last time, which was page 27. Now we're going to talk about momentum. So what momentum is building the speed and velocity of your attack before you make that strike so that it has more power, it does more damage. So, and the quote to start this one is, "To hold an entire army unbroken in the face of the enemy is achieved by the use of both the direct and the oblique." So for those of you who don't know, oblique means like a funny angle, like a difficult attack. So it sounds really nice and pretty. It sounds like, oh, that's skillful. An oblique attack, that sounds like it might be difficult. What they're actually saying here is an oblique attack means one that is difficult to see. So if I'm to attack you, I could go and slap you around the face. That's a normal direct attack. If I'm above you, 2 stories above you, and I drop a bucket of water on your head, that's an oblique attack because you'll feel the bucket hit your face and you'll see the water go everywhere. But then you'll be doing this. Where's that coming from? And by the time you look up, I've gone. That's oblique. So that's what they're talking about here. So let's get started. Momentum. The principles of control for a larger force are the same as a smaller one. The essential factor is how you divide up the troops. Deploying a large army in battle is a matter of formation and communication. So I think what they're getting at here is when you set up your army, it's not so much about the strength or the skill of each one of your troops, because half of them are going to get killed anyway. It's more to do with how you've set your entire squad up so that you can complete the tasks that are part of your mission. And in terms of the jihad, the way that they are doing this is through the jihad stealth positioning. Now, I've gone through this in a previous video. Positioning means putting people in position who don't look like soldiers. They just look like everyday Muslims. You know, they're working in hairdressers, they're working in the passport office or in the job center, you know, they're working at Tesco, they're taxi drivers. They're absolutely everywhere. And they just look like normal everyday guys. And if you ask them, they'll go, yeah, I'm just cultural. I'm just flavor Muslim. I don't really do all that other stuff. But in their head, they're waiting for that phone call. I was going to say that pager message, but after what happened the other day in Lebanon, with the grim beeper, beep, beep, boom, probably best to Ishnail mentioning that. So yeah, the phone call, they'll get the phone call to say, right, the jihad's on, and then they fly into action and they start stabbing us all in the back. So that's what we're talking about here. So where do we get up to? Deploying a larger force is just like deploying a smaller one. But the main thing is to have everyone arranged and have communication so they all know what their orders are. And the reason this is important is because you're not just giving one order. It's not like in a video game where you just say march forward 4 spaces and then attack. It's not as simple as that. When you're doing a stealth attack, each person has an individual role. And obviously while they're doing that role and they don't want to be detected, it's more difficult to communicate because if anyone spots that, then the jig is up and they're going to be busted. So the communication has to happen in other ways, not so obvious ways. And that's what Sun Shi is talking about here. To make the force of your enemy's attack like a grindstone crushing an egg, you must master the substantial and the insubstantial. So he loves doing this, doesn't he? What he's talking about there by saying substantial and insubstantial, substantial means obvious, insubstantial means like spiritual or, a moral attack. So a substantial attack is like punching someone in the side of the face. An insubstantial attack is making them feel so depressed that they will be fearful of a battle and they just won't be up for it. They'll have no stomach for a fight by the time it comes along. And that's another thing that these jihadis seem to be extremely good at. Like you may have noticed it on YouTube. Suddenly, since the start of last year, everyone's comments are disappearing. Like you'll put a comment down, 2 seconds later, you go to look at it, see if it's got any likes. It's gone. Now, you might have said nothing wrong in that comment. It might have just been a hello or a thank you. I have it all the time on my page. Obviously, because I've got lots of angry, pissed off Muslims who don't like the fact I'm talking about their book. But the reason they do this is over time, it reduces the likelihood that you're going to make the effort. You're not going to bother to keep making comments if they just keep disappearing every day. So if they can stop you from speaking by hiding and having your comments deleted or having your channel banned or something like that, if they can bug you enough that you just give up and you don't bother, then not only are you not there to speak against them, but they are all there to speak against you. So they dominate the platform through a non-violent means. And that is what he means when he says an insubstantial attack. So rather than just hacking your computer like they did with me, that's a substantial attack. They try to ban all your comments and get your account deleted or make it more difficult for you to put a comment so that when you're sat there typing, you think twice about actually doing it. And then over time, this builds up to a big substantial attack because obviously free speech is communication. And he's actually said before we went to that bit, communication and organization are the 2 most important things. That goes for defense as well. So if we're going to defend ourselves from these absolute loonies, we need to get organized and we need to know these things. And that's why we're going through this book now. I shouldn't have shut the page. Oh, look at that. I opened it magically on the right page. Thank you, God. Give me a little hand there. Was it the right page? Yes, it was. Yeah, so then the last bit is a skilled defender digs himself in deeper than the 9th level. Oh, no, we've done this bit. I'm on the wrong page. Thanking God for no reason there. Right, so the next page, the quote is, in military strategy, there is direct and oblique, but between them are an inexhaustible range of tactics. Now, have you noticed everything this guy says? He's trying to pretty up and make it sound really nice. So the way he said that is, between me punching you straight in the face and hiding above you to drop things on your head, there's an inexhaustible range of tactics. So it sounds like, oh, that's a really smart move. But what he's actually saying there is, I'm going to change my tactics based on what I see in front of me. So even though I've said organization and communication are the most important things, they're only important to me. They're not important to the troops because the troops are loyal to me. They're going to do what I tell them. And if anything goes wrong, I'm obviously going to blame it on them. So that's what he means by an inexhaustible range of tactics. He means he is not bound by the tactics he has set. Only the soldiers are. And we know this is exactly how the actual Quran of the Muslims treats the Muslims as well. Allah treats his Muslims like that. He isn't bound to any particular rules. He can do what he likes, change the rules whenever he needs to, but they cannot. So they have to do exactly what they are told. Oh, no worry, OC. I'll see you later. Thanks for dropping by, mate. Oh, we've got Adam in the back as well. Adam, do you want to come up, mate? There you are. Nice. I don't know what you're wearing, mate, but you're looking pimp. You are looking gangster.
Bro, it is what it is. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
How was your holiday?
Bro, it was amazing, but I'm back, bro. I'm fully recharged.
I've got to say, you sounded amazing, mate. That holiday has done you right, isn't it?
I'm here to kick butt and drink milk,
like.
and I'm all out of milk. And I'm all out of milk, bro. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'll lend you some, mate. I've got a cup of tea here with milk, no sugar, just milk.
There you go. You're sweet enough, bro. You're sweet enough.
Exactly.
So shall we hit him where it hurts?
We shall hit them everywhere. Every single possible opportunity must be taken. So says the art of war. We haven't got to that bit yet. All right. So where was I? Oh, yeah. So we're talking about military strategy and inexhaustible range of tactics. And keep in mind, while we're going through this, the reason why the inexhaustible tactics are important is because all of this stuff is reactive warfare. This isn't like, I suppose in the West, we have this really, this heroic ideal, you know, like the heroic sniper, the heroic soldier who is going to save the civilians and he will risk his own life in order to win the battle. Sometimes he will even go to his death in order to complete his mission for his squad to survive. That's the heroic ideal we have. These guys don't have that at all. They will sacrifice each other like that. They won't even think twice about it. Because it's part of the inexhaustible range of tactics. You know, the tactics are, I can sacrifice you if I need to. I can sacrifice everyone else if I need to. As long as I, the commander, survive, then it's fine.
There you go.
And we know this, even though you might be thinking, David Corbett's just making them sound terrible. And it's like, no, because if you were here for episode 1 of Art of War, you will remember the 5 most important things in war. Let's have a little go through them. 1, moral compass. Moral compass brings people into accord with their ruler. So the only reason morals are important is because of the ruler, i.e. me, the commander. 2, heaven. The only reason heaven is important is because you want to be able to get there when you die working for me, the commander. 3, earth encompasses nearness and distance, ease and hindrance, matters of life and death. That's me. I'm the one who decides what terrain you go over because I'm the commander. Do you see where this is going? Every single point relays you doing what I tell you as the commander. Oh, yeah. And then the next one is the general. So it even says 4 is literally the general is the most important thing in a battle. So it's like, guys, don't worry about surviving. Don't worry about being heroic. Don't worry about me giving you orders like kill civilians to make a distraction. I'm the head honcho. I'm the commander. You do what I tell you. That's the art of war. And these guys are like that. Like they're going to make out that we're the immoral ones. Like they do it to the Jews all the time. Oh, those evil Jews, they're killing babies and drinking their blood. They make up all these ridiculous stories. But the reason they're doing that, it's an insubstantial oblique attack. It's gonna turn heads. It's going to lower morale. It's going to raise enemies who were previously allies, you know, propagandized people. Wow. And it's going to make standing firm and fighting the war in a moral fashion, i.e. the way that Israel have to do it, much more difficult. And if anyone drops a clanger and makes a mistake, it's a war, they probably will at some point, that's going to be jumped on and used as a propaganda tool.
Yeah.
That's the reason why, if we know this stuff, when it happens, we'll be able to spot it and go, hang on a minute, that isn't real. That's one of these little oblique tactics they're using to confuse me so that they can defeat me in an oblique fashion.
I think the garnering when civilians die, it's like, well, why are civilians dying?
Oh, there's no such thing as a soldier in the Palestine army. Have you noticed that? All their soldiers are civilians.
All the soldiers are civilians.
The way that this is the most disgusting thing about the Palestinians, right? The way they make that true, rather than lying and saying, oh yeah, all our soldiers are all civilians, rather than lying, they actually make their civilians into soldiers. So they take all their children, all their wives, and they train them in these oblique tactics, i.e. hiding amongst the population.
No
If you're a
uniforms.
woman, you can wear a bomb underneath your, what's that thing called they wear? The bin liner suit thing that women wear.
Hijab.
Yeah, when they wear the hijab, it can have weapons hidden in it. Sometimes you can have a man wearing a hijab with a fake, with a wig on. So it looks like a woman underneath there. You can see hair. So it's like, oh, that's a woman. But it's actually a man hiding a rifle. So when she walks in front of a load of soldiers, they will not shoot her, thinking that it's actually a civilian woman. But it's not. It's a terrorist with an AK-47. Whereas if it was the other way around, and it was a load of terrorists with AK-47 and a white woman walked in front, they would immediately shoot her down. But if both soldiers shoot that woman in front of them, only one side is going to be complaining about it and saying that the other side shoots civilians. Not because the Israelis deserve to have that criticism. If both soldiers have done the same thing, it's because the Israelis are being honest and didn't shoot the woman on purpose, so they'll own up to it. Whereas the Palestinian guys will lie and say they didn't do it, but they'll say, no, the Jews did it. So it's not us, it's actually them. And they'll make everyone criticize them to lower morale. These are the kind of things we got to watch out for.
Well, I think the most obvious thing that happened recently was with the pager explosion. People were able to see what panic looks like in a hospital when all these people are coming through, being carried in, there's complete disorder. And then you see the filmed propaganda stuff of kids with blood on and this, that, the other. That is literally propaganda made. Children pretending to be asleep. I know kids die. I know. But when you see real actors, doing these scenes, there's no panic, there's no fear. It's so easy to see a real situation compared to a fake situation. And when you juxtapose those from the scenes that we were seeing in the hospitals where they're coming through, there's no organization, there's blood everywhere, compared to these set, I want to say, Bollywood-esque performances.
Well, do you know what? A lot of people, you probably know this already, but a lot of people don't realize a lot of the Palestinian films that come out with the kids with injuries and stuff, those kids actually do have real injuries, but how they got those injuries was for the sake of propaganda. So once again, they don't have to lie and say these kids aren't really injured, it's only ketchup blood. It's real blood, it's real injuries. But what they don't tell you is they caused those injuries on purpose to those children so that they could get them on film and blame the Jews. Like I say, it's an oblique tactic. They don't have to admit to it. They're always going to deny it.
The human
and it's like, if you're a spy and you're trying to stay undetected, you will try and stay undetected right until the last second. Even when everyone's running around looking for you, that's the time when you're going to be the most careful not to be discovered, because you know discovery equals defeat. That's in here as well. We'll get to that later. So when these guys are putting the most pressure on, making the loudest complaints, showing you the worst propaganda, the reason they're doing that is because they are this close to being discovered, and they're trying to create a distraction so that while your head is turned, they can shoot and get out of it. But like I say, when you see these videos, you forget this is a war. This is probably propaganda that's been created. And when people are discussing it, they'll go, no, it was definitely real. It's definitely real blood. And, the kids were crying. And it's like, that's true. But the subtext is that wasn't caused by what you're being told it was caused by. More than likely, it was caused by Palestinians doing that. And actually, I remember there was a hospital that blew up ages ago. And some UN guys went in and said, no, it's definitely an Israeli-made grenade that set this explosion off. And it was like, oh, Jews evil, Jews evil. But then they investigated it a bit more later and realized that the Israeli grenade was part of a stolen box of weapons that went missing months ago. So what happened is the Palestinian guys stole this box of weapons, kept it on the side in order to do that. Knowing that they were going to go to war after October, they then brought out the stolen weapons to use against their own people, so they could then go, Jews killed us, Jews did this, and then blame the Jews. And we saw loads of that. I mean, thankfully, a lot of it was detected and the news covered it. But by that point, the damage is done, because people see the original shocking and dramatic pictures, But then they don't see the nice, calm report of saying it's all faked.
And then the story's moved on. It doesn't matter. Once the lie's been perpetuated, they can apologize in a newspaper article a week later, but the news cycle's moved on. We don't hear about it. So it's all about visual perception, isn't it? So,
and this is another thing about the art of war. Most of it is like, what was it you said on your stream earlier? You said, fake it until you make it. You like said it tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
That's literally what these guys do.
Yeah.
Until they are in a position of victory, they will make it look like they are being heavily defeated.
20 F-35 airplanes were destroyed the other day by Hezbollah. No, they weren't. But
really?
People believe
that's impressive if they managed to kill any of those things.
Exactly. What are you talking about, bro?
If they brought down one, I'd be like, really? That's
people
amazing.
Believe that. Like, yeah, we're winning. No, you're not.
Thing is, though, it's like I say, we have this heroic idea of war. Winning, victory means a certain thing to us. And it doesn't mean winning through any means. Like I was saying to you, if we have to slaughter a load of civilians, including our own family members, and lie and cheat and steal and then deny our victory later on, that's not a victory to us. We don't want that victory. But these guys, any cost, they don't care. Any goal, any means, any cost. As long as they get that victory, it's fine. And that's how we know this is their playbook, because we went through that in the last episode where they... I'll try and find the bit, actually, because it might be worth going through again. Oh, it's too long to go through. So the gist of it was, victory is not something you will be crowing about later. Like, you won't be singing your victories and telling people about it, because the way that you got that victory is going to be shameful and it's going to disgust people. So you will either say you weren't even there and it was your brothers that got the victory and then lie about it, or you'll just fictionalize the bits that were bad to make yourself sound better. You won't be telling them the truth, is what I'm saying, because the truth will actually, even though you got the victory, when you tell people how you got it, they will hate you. Whether you got the victory or not won't matter. Your own people are going to rebel against you when they know how scummy your strategies were.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the current war, we're going to see rebellion in Iran because the people are not happy.
Oh, you know what? Do you know what? I almost feel like, should we chuck out that? Should we do the whole stream about Iran, what's happening in the Middle East? Because I really want to speak about this.
100%, mate.
So Iran have had a revolution against their Islamic government for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
3 times they've very nearly overthrown their government. The Iranian people, who used to be predominantly a Christian population, and they have been mercilessly persecuted against for that. So now most of them just say that they're Muslim and they have to do all the Muslim stuff. And the law is very harsh there. They have apostasy law and everything else. But what people don't realize, and when they think, these guys don't speak out, these guys don't do anything, they actually do. Iranian people are always speaking out. But the problem is, because their internet is so strictly controlled, none of that gets out. And if anyone manages to get a message out, guess what? Bang, the government arrests them and beat them. Like there was a girl, I can't remember what her name was. There was this girl, I think she was 16 or 15. And she was wearing a T-shirt that said "Down with the Revolution," like, i.e. down with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the army who control the country. They nabbed her off the street in a pretend ambulance, beat her up in the back of this van, and then sexually abused her, and she ended up dead. She was fighting back, and the guy actually killed her. And then they just threw her body out the side of this van on the way, where they picked her up kind of thing. They just chucked her out, and someone found her body. And there was an inquest about it. And the 2 guys who were responsible for this didn't even get suspended. Like, they virtually admitted it. But they were making excuses, saying it was her fault. And one of them said, we didn't rape her. And then one of them said, well, I touched her bum. But what was I supposed to do? She was half naked. I could see her bum. And it's like, that's the mindset of these people.
No, but they want these stories to get out to perpetuate fear into the nation.
I'm sure it does.
If you rebel, I mean, the amount of people that are slaughtered, this isn't the rebellions where we have marchers. This is men in black suits with black masks with machine guns that will mow down the front row of people. These are the reason that you have immigration in this country from Iran, where people disagree with the government. Their family is slaughtered and they escape. Yeah. They destroy entire families. If you as a man go against the government, they'll kill you and they'll kill your children and your wife to
Yeah.
make a statement to the people on, don't do this. This
But
affects
it's
more
like
than
I
you.
say, it's a completely different world to how we see things here.
Different set of
Like I
rules.
say, we don't have this any means is a way to achieve victory thing.
No.
Like we have our morals and we have to stick by them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying everyone always does. Like
Laws are
Humble
bendable.
Servant was saying in the last one, the American army's the same. Generally, they're quite good, but obviously mistakes are made. And when these mistakes are made, they have inquests, they have court cases or disciplinaries or whatever, and then they hand out punishments. But the point is, they're looking for those things, and information flows. There's no cover-ups, and if there's a cover-up done, at some point in the future, it will be found out. Whereas in Iran, people know to cover things up, because if they don't cover things up, the long arm of the law is going to come down on them and their family, and they don't want to risk it. So anyway, what I was saying, Iran nearly had a revolution. I think it was 5-6 years ago. They were this close. No, it was 2016. It wasn't a few years ago. It was quite a while ago now. 2016, they nearly had a revolution. And guess what they were scuppered by? Obama gave the Iranian government $6 billion,
Mate,
so that they could afford to bring in loads of third-party troops and mercenaries and stuff and quell the rebellion in that country.
listen, the Democrats under Biden gave $100 billion to the Iranian regime. He tells Israel that what not to do, and Netanyahu has gone, do you know what, Joe? We know you're against us. You've got this. We're supporting you on the surface level, but we're funding your enemy underneath. They know what they're doing. Follow the money.
Well, I'm absolutely certain he's not going to be there a great deal longer.
Oh,
I'm
he's not
absolutely
even there,
certain
mate.
November, the election comes along, he's going to be out of there.
He's never been there, bro. He's a puppet of Obama. Obama lives a mile away from the White House.
I didn't know that. So
call
tell
a
me
spade
about
a
this.
spade. He's a puppet, bro. It's
Tell me
Obama.
about this puppetry that's going on with Biden.
Obama lives about a mile away from the White House. He never left office.
So, but how do we know that he's actually? It's him controlling things. I didn't think he was that much of a player.
Through the links in between, research it. All of his the things that he set in place and his connection to people that are inside the White House. Joe Biden can't tie his own shoelaces.
Yeah, apparently his son controls his medication or something like that. So he like blackmails him by saying, "Oh, I can't find your medication." I don't know how true this is. But this is what I've heard from people in America. But the thing is, when you look at his behavior, it makes sense, because well, I don't have to tell you, half the time when he's speaking, he just doesn't make any sense. Like the words are coming out, but they're not a coherent sentence.
And
you think that's a medication thing, isn't it?
No, it's incoherent babble. It's absolute nonsense. The
You
other
think
thing
he's
that's
just senile then? You think Biden is just completely just senile, gone?
Oh, bro, he is just a walking disaster, and that's what
leader of the free world, but can't tie his own shoelaces.
Okay, you go. He can't string a sentence together and walks off stage backwards.
And isn't it weird how 2 years ago people were going, "Yeah, Trump, he's a Nazi. We hate Trump. We don't want to see Trump there." A bullet later that nearly hits him but doesn't. Oh no, it did. It kind of nicked his ear a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, come closer to the mic.
After that, everyone was like, "Actually, we're not so fond of Biden anymore. We'll give Trump another go." So I think he's gaining in popularity. Yeah.
COVID, bring that mic closer to you.
Sorry, mate. Yeah, I'll do that.
There you go.
I'd put the volume down.
Another red herring is this one. What is Biden's son called? I've forgotten his name. Hunter. Guess where Hunter Campbell used to hang out?
Oh, Belgrade, Russia.
Belgrade, Russia, and
yeah, and this was, you know what? I knew that before I knew he was part of the government. I didn't know anything about the Bidens. I knew Biden, and I actually thought he was a spy for Russia, like just before I knew he was a political dude.
Guess what?
And you know what? There's so many of these guys, like Boris Johnson. He spent a lot of time in Russia, and him and his dad both own properties in China, so they have big links to the CCP. So then you think he was the prime minister during the COVID lockdown. COVID lockdown was a result of Chinese advice, and the actual virus came from Wuhan.
Yeah, paid.
And it was spread by Chinese dignitaries. Like, we shouldn't have had it here at all. It literally came here on a plane full of Chinese dignitaries who claimed that they didn't have it.
Oh yeah. They'll have a little gas canister, they'll release it, and it's off.
You know what? I was saying this before. This is the reason why we need to take it upon ourselves, guys, to have a little bit of internal, passion for our country and our lives, and show a little bit of leadership. Like, if you look up the chain, you look at the guys in the government, you look at the police, you look at like church leaders. These guys are all hypocrites. Don't let them lead you. Look at the way they behave. We need to have that. We need to be the leaders. Even though it's just little me and little Adam or little whoever, little you in your front room. No, forget that. It's not about money or popularity. It's about the size of this.
Come on,
We
bro.
need to really get hold of that because times are going to be tough. Like you've seen, the war has now started. Prices are starting to go up and the propaganda is just rife. People aren't prepared for it.
Yeah.
So when the shit really hits the fan, leaders are going to be required and they're going to be self-selected. It's not going to be like anyone's going to tell you that you're a leader. It will be you setting a good example and physically helping people out that and making them more able to face the challenge that life's going to throw at them. And then you'll be elected as a leader by default.
So I think the thing when you're talking about Boris and China and all these links together, you only have to see the final photo of World War II, where Stalin, what's that guy for the UK? They're all on chairs together, sat together, hanging out.
Well, yeah, I think at the end of the war, they did shake hands to say that they were going to stop the war. I mean, that kind of thing always happens. But I mean, yeah, Stalin is like one of the most undesirable human beings that has ever lived.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine shaking hands with a scumbag like that. I just don't think I ever would.
Winston Churchill, Stalin, and someone else all sat together with Masonic hand signs on 3 chairs. They're all the same. They're all on the same team, bro. They were trying to make an achievement, order out of chaos.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't know whether they're all on the same team. The thing is, you've got to remember about the Masons, right? The Masons aren't really a team as such.
No,
They're all all the big teams have got Masons in them.
Yeah.
But they're not all working together when they're in their teams. It's just there's an overarching thing that they all do. And that's bigger than their little crappy nation battles. So it's like Germany fighting the Allies. That's a real thing. But when if you believe in all this stuff, I kind of do. I'm 90% of the way there. When the Grand Master Mason says, right, guys, I know you're at war with each other, trying to kill each other, but on this one, I want your compliance. They will do it. It's like I was saying with the art of war. There's some things which are more important than you. And if your commander is telling you that he is more important than you and he's giving you an order, you damn well follow it. It doesn't matter whether you're sacrificing yourself and then you'll propagandize your nation to cover it up because you don't want them to know. So it makes it look like everyone's on a big team. It's a big conspiracy of everyone. It's like, no, it's not. These guys are all slaves of that guy. So that's the conspiracy. Like the Mason thing is real. There is a Grand Master Mason who controls them all. But outside of those orders, they're still, none of these guys like each other.
No.
Do you know what I mean? It's like the UN. That's why I predicted that the UN is going to fall apart in the next 5 years. These guys who sit together, eat together, make all these agreements together, they hate the Jews together. Yeah. When it comes down to it, these guys will be killing each other. They won't care. When there's no order for them not to, they'll immediately start attacking each other. And that'll be the end of the UN. In fact, I can tell you now, China and Russia are going to go together against UK, America, and France. And even though America, UK, and France aren't really, they're not exactly best buddies, are they? When it comes down to it, France, England, and America will side together against China and Russia. They just will. And then they will need to, because China plus Russia, even though I haven't got a lot of respect for those two nations, that is a lot of people. And they have nuclear weapons, they have decent technology, they have resources at hand. That's going to be like the mainstay of the world war when those guys get involved.
When two equal forces meet, this is when you have real issues.
That's what you call a meat grinder, mate, where they're just throwing troops at each other to see who runs out first. It's like World War II. It's exactly what happened in World War II.
The war isn't meant to be won in Ukraine. The people that own the manufacturing or have the contracts for weapons and this, that, the other, it's a testing field. It's literally a money-producing testing field. You saw...
Well, you know, I've got this theory about Ukraine, and it's that somebody must have known. I mean, because I predicted that this whole war, you saw on my videos, I predicted that the war was going to kick off. I said by the start of October, where it will be public, everyone will know about it. And I've been saying this for nearly a year. So I was thinking to myself, how do these guys not know? If an idiot like me, who has a Bible and at the time a 500 quid budget PC with Google, that's the only tools I had. How can I figure this out so accurately to the start of the month, like to the week? A year in advance, I said that it was going to happen, where it was going to happen, who it was going to involve, all predicted perfectly. How can I do that and these guys not know? So they must have known. And that makes me think, well, they knew that was coming. And in order that Russia couldn't get involved to support Iran, they needed to keep Russia pinned down. That's why they had Ukraine go to war with Russia and support Ukraine. So they don't give them enough to actually go and win, but they give them more than enough to stand their ground and look like they might win. So Russia can't then go and support Iran. So it means Israel can do their Lebanon campaign without Russia muscling in and making it difficult for them. And I think that shows you that the Western powers, even though Biden's not on hand with it, the Western powers have an interest in Israel remaining a power in the Middle East and the Muslim countries who have all the terrorists in not. And by way of that, Russia not doing well out of it, because Russia own most of the oil that is in these countries.
It's clever. It's geopolitical powers, and they want to have America tied down with their resources and their money going to the Ukraine. They tie in donations to support Israel when they do check grants. So they say we're going to give £10 billion of military equipment to Israel. They will lobby that they have to give money to Ukraine as well. So they want things tied in. They want people tied up so they can orchestrate which countries are able to come together and fight when other countries are distracted having something over here. It leaves the real target vulnerable.
Well, I think the thing people forget as well is like people who have guns, they have to get guns through weapons manufacturers where there's not many. And those weapons manufacturers have to be controlled by an overarching what's it called? Like a regulator type thing. The UN owns the regulator. So every single weapon that's sold to either one of the sides, the UN makes money on every single bullet.
Yeah.
So how is the UN the guy making the rules and mediating between the arguments when they have a physical, obvious interest, a financial interest in selling as many bullets as they can to as many people as they can and drawing out the battles as long as they can? But they're the ones saying, oh, yeah, we're the International Court of Justice. We're the guys that want peace. We're the peacekeepers. It's like bullshit. You're the peacekeepers. You're the guys stirring the pot, selling the weapons, making the money. I almost feel like the UN is not what people think it is. The UN is like the terrorist organization behind everything.
Yeah.
And, all this stuff with the Pope saying, going to all these Muslim countries and saying, oh, we worship the same God. We've got friendship tunnels, all this suspicious stuff. And it just makes me think, why is he in league with the UN then if they're so great? Because we know he's not great. He doesn't really want peace. He's a stirrer as well. They're all stirrers. They're all hypocrites and stirrers. And I feel like that's the reason why leadership has broken down. These leaders aren't really, they know they're not really leaders. They're just actors.
People are scared of strong leadership. If you look at why people can make moves at this time, it's because of weak leadership in the strongest nation in the world. It's Biden. Now, if Trump, you'd think twice. Putin's a strong leader, bro. Don't underestimate your enemy. Yeah, don't underestimate him. But Trump and Putin have respect for each other. Hey,
Well, you know what? With Putin, I don't personally dislike him. Like when he speaks and he makes speeches, he seems like a reasonable kind of guy.
He stands.
And even though I know most of what he's saying is not true, I could sit at the dinner table with that guy without wanting to jump over and punch him in the face and kill him, because he just seems like an approachable guy. And then when it comes to someone like Trump, even though I like Trump more than Putin politically, I don't think I'd be getting along with Trump all that well. I think we would have a bit of a clash of personalities. Whereas I don't think I would with Putin. He just seems like a more kind of tempered dude to speak to.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, Putin might be a bad guy, but like you say, people shouldn't think, oh, he's an idiot and he's not a good leader. It's like there's a good reason why most of his country like him.
Yeah.
yes, a lot of it's propaganda, but what you got to keep in mind is he's the guy appearing in all that stuff. It's all
Yeah.
directed by him, so he knows something.
He's a strong leader.
And then
And
you
we
look
don't
at
have a strong leader.
Vladimir Zelensky, and it's like, well, I don't think he
An
inspires
actor.
confidence.
Vladimir,
Like, I don't mind him either
the
personally, but he does not inspire me.
the Ukrainian leader is a actor. He came from Hollywood, basically. He's in movies. He's in all sorts. He is an actor. He's put there as a puppet. Now, Hunter Biden spent his time doing the old classic, the old gangster classic of buying art in Ukraine for millions of dollars when it's worth nothing. They funneled money into Ukraine years before this. Biden and his son did. And they've installed a actor. Zelensky is not a politician. You
Yeah, you
type
know
in
what? I remember before he was famous for being the president of Ukraine, he was actually a comedian. Like,
comedian.
I
He's a TV
remember seeing a
personality.
video of him doing a live set of comedy. It wasn't that great.
Yeah.
I mean, it probably was better than I saw because it was subtitled. But I just remember thinking when I saw him on the podium when he became the president of Ukraine, I remember seeing him and thinking, I've seen you before. You're not a politician. You're
He's an actor.
you're like a Saturday night cabaret comedian type dude. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing on there? And sure enough, he turns up in a tracksuit and trainers, and I'm thinking that's not the dress of a president. Presidents
Yeah.
don't wear trainers.
This has been done before in America. One of the sitting presidents, I think it was in, I want to say the 70s, was an actor. And they built a campaign behind him and they put him in because they wanted him to act out a narrative for the nation. He didn't come from the grassroots. He was really good at giving people stories. I need to, I mean, my phone's not in my hand. It's here. I'll show you which one it is. Like, it's not, they're actors. They put in actors, and Biden, through buying fake art through his son, funneled money in about 4 years ago into the Ukraine and set the ground for this and bought people and put it through. It's not rocket science. Which US?
So, what do we think is going to happen in the Middle Eastern war situation then? Because the way I see it, it's been very quiet for the last 2 or 3 days.
Ronald Reagan, actor, done.
Was he? I never knew that. Ronald
Yeah,
Reagan
nothing
was
new
an
under the
actor.
sun.
Oh, I
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah.
So yeah, with regards to the Middle East, I'm thinking it's been kind of quiet for the last 2, 3 days. There's been no real movement in the news, but that always makes me a little bit nervous because I think the
It-
art of war is make your enemy think you're incapable of attacking when you are ready to attack. So I'm thinking quiet for 2 or 3 days. Mohammed's birthday's on the 8th, and it's the 1 year anniversary of the invasion in Israel. I think we're looking at attack. We're looking at terrorist attack 7th or 8th of October, which is like a couple of days' time.
It's more biblical than that, brother. Brother, give me some of your oats. No, it's more biblical than that. It's more biblical than that. It's understanding revelation is birth pains. The contractions of the signs of Jesus coming just get stronger. Like a woman in travail, they go like this and they just get stronger and stronger until the baby's born. So you will ride a crest and it'll go quiet, and then the next one will be bigger. And then it slows and then bigger. It's literally a pulsation that's been happening since the birth of Israel, getting closer and closer together and stronger, such as the earthquakes. It's literally biblical. When it goes quiet, enjoy it. But it's going to build up to something bigger, and it's going to continue until comes back. It's a woman travailing in labor. This is a fact. It's testable. And it's 100% biblical, the symptoms of how the end times come.
So when's Lent? When is Lent coming up? Because I did a 40-day silence for Lent a few years ago. Not like I get the chance to do it again, but I'm thinking, wouldn't that be a nice bit of timing? Because I said, oh yeah, the rumblings of the war is going to go until March. Then there's going to be something really major happening in March, and that's going to kick it off with all the other countries, March next year. So I'm thinking, when is Lent? Lent's March, April kind of time, isn't it?
Bro, I follow Jewish holy feasts out of interest. I can't tell you much more.
Let's have
Probably.
a look. Well, the thing is, Lent is fairly regular, so I'm sure I can find out when it is. Lent 2025.
The Easter day, always changes.
5th of March. That's when it is. 5th of March to 17th of April.
Brilliant.
That's going to be Lent next year. And I think the reason that's important, because you were saying that it's the woman in travails waiting to have a childbirth. And it's like, right, when was Jesus born? End of March, beginning of April.
Lambing
That's why
season.
we have Lent at that time. So it's like, maybe that's going to be...
And this is why in the calendar, Easter never falls on the actual day. They have a certain way where they can make it always different, so it never falls on the actual day. You can look into this. I can't reel it off the top of my head. I'm dehydrated and tired, and my brain isn't working. But this is a fact. Easter never falls on the actual day it's meant to fall on.
Well, you know, I always got told not to call it Easter. I always got told to call it Feast Sunday or something like that,
No,
Holy Feast Sunday.
it's on the day of Passover after the following days. It's Easter. King James Bible's the only one that gets it right, because it mentions that those days has passed before, and then it calls it Easter. So it is actually called Easter. So yeah, I mean, I can go into that one. I've got Sethnon that sent me an email 6 months ago explaining why it's called Easter. So it is a biblical name. It's explaining the days after Passover. I think it. Yeah. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater for that one.
I
But
just
there's a
remember someone saying to me it's named after Ishtar or something like that.
oh yeah, cool. Pagans
Is it,
always
is
trying to
it
drop.
actually named after Ishtar? Like, I'm not an
No,
expert in these things.
everything that we do is partly a pagan festival. So whatever.
But is that actually a thing?
No, not to
Because
my knowledge.
you know what I find? Most of this propaganda stuff relates back to something from the Islamic calendar. And I'm thinking Ishtar, even though they don't call Ishtar, Ishtar is synonymous with Inanna. Inanna is synonymous with Miriam, and Miriam is synonymous with their Virgin Mary, you know, the sister of Aaron Mary, who they think is the mother of Isa.
Yeah.
So that would make sense to have her having a holy festival.
Why not? You know what I mean? Anything but Jesus, mate. That's what they love. Anything but Jesus. We overcomplicate it. Oh, yeah.
You know what's weird, though? After having read so many different Qurans, I'll have to index all the mentions of Jesus in here, because I originally thought, oh yeah, Isa is a completely different character, which is true. Isa is a different character, different lineage, different time of life. But later on in this book, it does actually mention Jesus. It says Jesus Christ, because it says, don't worship Jesus Christ. So they think that the real Jesus Christ is the false Christ. And that's why they created Isa to be the real Christ for them.
Yeah.
But that recognizes that there are two, because originally Muslims were saying to me, no, the Jesus Christ of Nazareth is a myth. That's not real. Isa was an Arab born in Medina. That's what they think. That's what they believe because of this book. But then, like I was saying, I was reading this last night and I came upon a bit that said, don't follow Jesus Christ because he's not the son of Allah.
Ah, there you go. The veil drops every now and then. But
well, I think, you know, it'd be worth cataloguing every double entendre or mistake made in the Quran, because there are a fair few in there.
There's not enough red ink in a pen, mate.
Well, the thing is as well, Allah says, you will never find a book as accurate and as mystically, prophetic as the Quran. And he even says, you'll definitely not find any mistakes in there. And then how he proves it, he says, there is relevance of proof. If there's any mistakes in the Quran, they would have been found by now. And then I think, hang on a minute. Are you saying no one's ever claimed there's a mistake in there? Or are you saying Muslims just slaughter anyone who claims that they found a mistake and can actually prove it? Because that would be much more realistic than saying nobody had ever found a mistake in there.
No one living.
I found a mistake in there today.
No one living.
I found a spelling mistake in there today. And I was like, oh, that's weird. They translated it wrong. But then I looked at the Arabic and it's like, no, the mistake's in the Arabic. So they've translated it correctly, but the mistake's in the original.
Make it make sense. I think the thing that people need to listen to now is purely for prophecy that hasn't happened that will happen. Damascus is going to be left a ruinous heap. They're going to wake up and it's gone.
Well, it's under siege right now, isn't it? So that's probably the thing that's building up in March. And actually, that's what I said. I didn't say Damascus. I said Syria is going to get attacked. Over from January to March, they'll be in like a proper war scenario. And then at the end of March, they'll be defeated. But then they will have one last hurrah, like one last weapon, if you like, the Hezbollah guys. And they will attack the Golan Heights with some kind of chemical weapon or a nuke or something like big, you know? So, I mean, that could be at the end of Damascus, because Damascus is in Iran, isn't it? It's on the border between Syria and Iran.
Syria. Damascus, Syria. A 5,000 years inhabited city that's never changed its name. Now, Iranian, by proxy, keep all their weapons there and they send them to an airport. And Israel send their jets out there and they bomb the crap out of this airport. And all they have to do is hit the stockpile. Boom. They have a cave system in there where they have their missile silos. So it's very difficult to get in there. Now, they need to get a bunker buster in there. And when they hit their stockpile, goodbye, Damascus. Prophecy fulfilled. Thank you very much. See you later.
Yeah.
And that's one missile.
You know what? I think the only reason that hasn't been done is because Russia are going to make a fuss about it. But then we think, well, they're still occupied with fighting Ukraine. So that will probably happen eventually.
They've been kept there.
And I know how these things go. Israel are going to go in as slowly as they can manage, but if they're not getting a result on the ground, they'll pull all their troops back. Or if they suffer heavy losses, they will pull all the guys out and they will just bomb it anyway.
Oh, cap it.
Because it's not like they're doing it for the sake of propaganda. They're actually doing it because these guys have been shooting rockets at them for the last year, taking hostages and killing people. So they want to be safe.
This is the cheek, COVID. And I want people to listen. This is the cheek. What is the Iron Dome? It is a self-defense. It's not an offensive weapon. It shoots missiles at the sky that are being fired onto a city. They're not guided and they're attacking army bases. No, they're randomly fired and they will kill Muslims, Christians, Jews, and atheists. If that dome wasn't there, what would the world be saying? Oh, how are you sending missiles on civilians? No, it's only because.
Well, I can tell you what the world would be saying, mate. If there was no Iron Dome, the world would be saying, "Oh, remember when we had that country called Israel, which is now a massive crater full of bones and skeletons?" Because there wouldn't be anything left of it.
And it's not
the other thing people don't realize, right? The Iron Dome's actually pretty bloody genius. How it works, it's two missiles stuck together. And it fires them up towards the rocket, and then the second one tracks the path of the rocket. So the first one's going up. As it's going up, the second rocket is tracking towards the one it wants to shoot down, and it shoots the second rocket into the one that it wants to shoot down and explodes in front of it. So it tricks that missile into thinking it's hit its target, and it blows up in the sky. So bits and bobs of remains of that rocket will still fall down. Bits of shrapnel and stuff still fall down. But the main explosive payload goes up in the sky.
I did not know
that. The Iron Dome, it has no physical ability to shoot at other countries. It can only shoot upwards. And that's why it annoys me when these Palestine guys are going, "Oh, the Iron Dome, it's a murder device." It's like it physically is impossible to say
it's
that.
Ridiculous.
It can only fire straight up in the air.
Yeah, it's a self-defense mechanism.
But whoever thought of it is a goddamn genius, really.
It is. And the amount of lives.
Think about how difficult that calculation must be, and it is 99% accurate.
Yeah, the amount of lives
in all conditions.
But if that thing was turned off, you would really see how the enemy is.
Bro, if that thing was turned off, it would be over. Like Israel would be gone in like a week.
They're basing.
Think about it like this: if Syria and Iran and Lebanon and these Hezbollah guys, if they knew that there was a weak spot in the Iron Dome that they could target, all their rockets would be going there.
Yeah, they're trying to overpower.
And that's why early on in the war, you were seeing little rocket attacks here or there, or they were repeating them on the same spot. They were testing for weaknesses, like we were saying, art of war. That's what you do. You test for weaknesses, and then you claim that it's a mistake or a misfire, or you blame it on such a person who is a rogue agent. But really, it's part of the plan. And what you want to do is identify where that weakness is, so that when they're looking the other way, you can whack them on that weak spot with everything you've got and cause major damage. And then you can deny it and say, "Oh, I didn't mean it," or whatever. That's exactly what they're planning to do.
No, I think this is very interesting. Something has to happen for the third temple. And I think God is going to have a giggle with this one, because there are rockets that get through. Randomly, they get through. Now, I think they're going to send missiles at Israel, and they're going to blow up their own Al-Aqsa Mosque. And they're going to clear the way for the third temple. Because
I don't know about that. I mean, what the thing is, you've got to remember about Muslims is when they're talking about their mosque, they're actually commanded in the Quran to prioritize the safety of the mosque over everything. So for them to blow up their own mosque, even for the sake of propaganda, to say evil Jews,
No,
that
they're not
is
gonna do it on purpose. You're firing missiles into Israel. If the system was turned off, that would have been blown up a long time ago. The odds of it happening are slim, but that Al-Aqsa Mosque would ignite. It's the third most holy site in the Islamic cult, however it is. Yeah, it's the third most holy site. They're
Oh,
firing
Marathon, mate,
missiles.
I'll answer you in a second. Sorry,
Say that
mate,
again.
carry on. Oh,
Yeah.
just Marathon Maid asked a question, said, why didn't Egypt take the innocents from Gaza? They said because they didn't want them to be displaced, so would rather leave them there. Egypt doesn't want to take Palestinians because Egypt used to have lots of Palestinians there and they did nothing but cause trouble and commit crimes and nearly start a revolution. And it was the same in Jordan. Jordan is like 60% Palestinian people. When they had loads of Gazans there, they wanted to have a Palestinian state there. Didn't go so well for them. They tried to have a revolution, overthrow the government, and the Jordan royal family booted them the hell out.
Yeah.
So Egypt won't have them. Jordan won't have them. Syria won't have them. Saudi Arabia won't have them. The only place left is Israel. And Israel gave them a home there and said, you can have this patch of land. Here you go. And look what they've done with it. So they know this is their last chance to have a Palestinian state. Not
Have you
because of the Jews, it's because they've buggered up all the other chances they've had.
This is the thing, is people get angry with statistics, and statistics don't care about your opinion. There are Western nations that has taken in Palestinians, and the crime rate that happens with these people is ridiculous. I mean, I don't want you to think that I'm being Palestinian crime.
Dude, I'll tell you what, right? When I was 18, I met an absolutely beautiful Jewish girl when I was clubbing.
Yeah,
And I was an atheist at this point. So, I mean, she obviously recognized me being a Jewish guy with Jewish ethnicity because she just warmed to me out of the crowd. And I was like, oh, cool. Fit chick, really nice. She's chatting to me.
yeah.
And I ended up going back to her flat. And I accidentally said, even though I didn't know for sure, I just thought, oh, yeah, I found my family lineage traces back to Ashkelon, which is now where Gaza is. So I didn't know it didn't used to be. I thought it always was Gaza. So I ended up saying, yeah, my family traced their lineage back to Gaza. She wouldn't speak to me after that. Like, she didn't kick me out of her flat. She was still polite to me and stuff. But I immediately noticed after that, she was just completely switched off from me. And it's because she was terrified of me after I said that. So you've got to think to yourself, why are these people so flipping terrified of someone whose family ancestry, not even them, like I've never been there. I've always lived in Britain. How is a Jew person terrified of me, another Jew, who has ancestry from Gaza and has just never been there? There must be something to that. And I look back on that whenever I think of Palestinians and people moaning about how they're badly treated. And I think these guys have a culture of war and death.
Yeah.
That's why people are terrified of them who have actually experienced them in real life. It's not because of propaganda.
I want to bring up 2 points into this because I just want to back up what I actually said. 64% of Palestinian refugees taken in by Denmark in 1992 now have criminal records. That's just to back up what I was saying.
And the thing is, you can't blame that on society. When is the cutoff where you've got to start saying these people are adults? They should know by this age the difference between what is right and what is not right. They should be able to know by this point, you don't steal, you don't commit violent acts on random innocents, you don't murder people, you don't lie, false testimony, you don't, especially when you're a guest in someone else's country.
No,
Come on. Like, if I went to, say I got deported to Gaza, I know it's never going to happen, but say I got deported to Gaza and they said, right, you're in Rome, do what the Romans do. Now you have to observe Allah. When you're praying, you have to pray to Allah. Obviously, I would still pray to Jesus. But if the law in the country was that I say Allah, I would end up saying Allah, because otherwise I'm going to have to become a terrorist, aren't I? So I would end up doing it. And that's what I think they don't do. They go to all these other countries and they just do whatever they want. They don't care about the law of the land they're in.
Yeah, just bringing this back to the Bible, I want people to be aware that there were parts of Israel that were never conquered, and Gaza was one of them. Gaza's where David and Goliath came from, and his brothers. There are places that they never conquered. It talks about it, how they went through and they left the people in that area, and they have Nephilim descendancy, and there's all sorts of weird
Well, it's
areas.
funny you say that because I actually was born with 6 toes on each foot. I had a little toe cut off on each foot.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Yeah. So
6
okay,
toes on each
that's
foot.
brilliant. So that goes back to Nephilim DNA being left in that area, very high purport. That's so interesting. So they found the armor of Goliath that described the weight of the
And it
bronze.
is massive.
It's absolute. There you go. I'm glad you've seen this.
Yeah,
But even
do you know what? I
seeing,
actually didn't believe that. When I saw that, I thought that can't be real just from the
no, it's
size of it.
real.
But now I think about it, it's like that's the only reason I thought it was fake, just because it was unbelievably big.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's the biblical description of Goliath, is that he's huge. He's a massive man.
Yeah. It's all proportional. Anyway, those areas weren't conquered, and they were left with Nephilim mixing in with the civilization, saying, "See that city over there? We don't go over there. That's their area. We're going to leave them. We're just going to build around them." And these are the areas that where the war's coming out of. Now, do you think that's a coincidence, or do you think
Oh,
that's
not at all. No, I absolutely
spiritual?
think that's, yeah, it's not a
Inside
coincidence at
inside
all.
something spiritually, we're overcomplicating the thing and thinking, well, but geopolitics, this, that, the other, or they have descendancy, like you've just said, and you had 6 toes. The
Yeah.
giants had 6 toes. People have this DNA in them. It's not a rare thing. They bred with people. Like you may, people listening, I may have Nephilim DNA in me. I don't know, but it was very, very strong in the Gazan area.
Mm.
They were never conquered. What's the principality angel over it? When Michael battled the angel of the prince of Persia, the angel over Persia or something, they have dominion. They have different spirits controlling different areas. This is
Mm.
biblical. So why did they not conquer it, and why are we seeing things coming out of that exact
Well, I
area?
think the reason, specifically with Ashkelon, where my family traces back to, the reason that was never conquered, it was occupied. So they were trying to conquer it, but because it's a coastal region and the terrain is so difficult, it was like insurgent groups they couldn't get rid of. And obviously, with these guys, if you don't completely get rid of them,
Grow back.
it's like a disease. They grow and they have loads and loads and loads of children. And then after a few years, there's like millions of them. So they couldn't capture that area conclusively back in the day. And it was constantly at war. And in the end, I think what happened is the Israelites just backed off it because they thought this is just too much of a waste of lives trying to capture this tiny little area. But it
Yeah.
has got half of the buildings there are like Israeli looking, and
Mhm.
half of the buildings there are kind of like Muslimy looking. So it's almost like what Jerusalem looks like today, where there's a split down the middle, and
Yeah.
either side of that fence, people are eyeing each other up with, high levels of distaste. They don't like each other.
No, it's
It's a
spiritual.
shame as well because Ashkelon is like a really nice, resource-rich area in a little cove on a coast with loads of fish there. The water's lovely, the sands are golden. There's like little tree, forested bits as well. So
Yeah.
it could be like a beautiful tourist area with good production, making its own food. It could even be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But because there's so much war going on there,
Bro,
nobody can make the most of it. It's just one of those places.
when Israel used to run Gaza, I think this is 14 years ago, they gave it over. They let them install their own
Oh, it's a damn shame. It used to be really nice. Like I've seen videos and pictures of how it was when they were building it up, and it started to build up into a really, really nice looking place, really good place.
Yeah.
You look at it now, it's complete wreck. And this is before the war. This is when Gaza was just running itself.
Yeah.
It ran itself into the ground. And it's because they spent all of the resources they were getting given
Tunnels.
on building up weapons.
Yeah.
Rather
There's
than
no water
hospitals,
infrastructure.
rather than schools, rather than planting fields. No, what are they doing? They're buying flipping Chinese cloned AK-47,
They
and they're buying Chinese Muslim Uyghur wives out of the slave colonies. Like they do not spend the money
they,
properly at all.
they said to the Israelis, "Why have you cut off our water? Your government, if we've given you that country, why are you asking us for water now? Even though we were giving you it, your government has been brainwashing your children, spending money on military and nothing, absolutely
Well, I
nothing
just think the
on the
thing that
infrastructure."
this is what I mean about the cultural difference. We know here in the West, you do not bite the hand that feeds you. If it's the only hand that is feeding you and you don't have any other way of getting fed, you do not bite that hand. So why are the Palestinians saying, oh, Israel, why are you not giving us money, food, water, aid, and medical supplies when we have just killed thousands of your people and now we're at war with you? It's like, why would someone give you money and food and medical supplies and water when you are at war with them?
You wanted self-governance. You wanted self-governance. You have it. You use that to build a war against us. You set your doctrine on the destruction from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. What?
And the thing is, right, it's not even that. It's the tactics they use. It's like, fair enough, you have a grievance against the Israeli government, or you have a grievance against the Jewish religion, or whatever. That's fine. You're allowed to have that opinion. But the way they go about expressing that is absolutely evil and disgusting. And that's the thing that puts me off Palestinians. It's the fact that they lie, the fact that they do the false testimony, the false accusations, the fact that they use human shields, the fact that they take hostages, they rape hostages on film, they train their children as soldiers, they buy slave wives in from China with money they stole. Then they lie to the UN about it to get more money in. They spend that money on weapons. Like, the list is endless. These guys just don't know how to behave, and it's got to stop.
You need to realize the bigger picture is they're a puppet and they're being used for sympathy. They're brainwashed, so they're a very useful puppet, but they're brainwashed to go and attack, die, shout all this stuff, being pumped full of terrorists from other countries are coming in, filtered in through the sea borders, yeah. And then when they need sympathy, the puppet master has locked the cage at the bottom for Egypt. No one's taking these people in because they need them to stay in there to die, to get rallies going around the world. Free Palestine. Well, there's a big border at the bottom. Yeah. These are their allies, and they're not letting them through the border. There's 2 million of them.
And the thing is, right, this is the main thing that upsets me about people saying free Palestine, white guys and people in this country saying that. What we know from reading the Quran is this: when Palestine is free, it will not be free. It will be the beginnings of the Islamic revolution, which will then spread to Jerusalem to set up the caliphate. When they have the caliphate set up, they are then going to kick out everyone who is not a Muslim from that country and then from the continent and kill them. Then they're going to spread out to all the other surrounding countries, and they're going to keep spreading out until they meet the other end. And the entire world is covered by the caliphate and is all one country called Islam. And at that point, everybody else will be dead. And then Allah will get his judgment day.
There you go.
So it's literally genociding everyone else on earth apart from Arab Muslims to say free Palestine. You are supporting the death of the species by saying free Palestine. But people just don't see it that way. And the reason they don't see it that way is because they're too flipping lazy to buy and read one of these. And listen to guys like us when we do it.
The other thing is, ask a Muslim to show you where Allah said he didn't give that country to Israel, Beni Israel. He didn't say that he dispersed them over the earth, and didn't say bring them back in the end times, and they should not turn back from fighting or they'll be losers. The Muslims are anti-Jews. Allah is pro-Jews. He's like, hey, this is their land. I'm going to bring them back.
No, Allah is not pro-Jew. Allah is pro putting all the Jews in one place, so they're much easier to then wipe out. Because remember, his prophecy was after Moses escapes with the Jews. This is, I can actually read you the bit. Hang on, I'll find the bit. What happens in the Moses stories in here? Because the Moses story in here is far different to what we know it as.
Absolute nonsense.
Well, it is. It's just ridiculous.
Remember those
what happens in the Quran is Moses escapes with the Jews, gets across the sea. Then Allah says, Pharaoh, tell your heavily armored soldiers to go and kill all those Jews, because I said that I wouldn't let them leave, and I prophesied if they tried to leave, I'd kill them all. They're escaping, so that means I can't kill them all, so go and kill them all. So Pharaoh sends all his soldiers across the sea to kill the Jews. Moses bangs his staff, and the sea comes in, drowns all the soldiers. Allah is enraged at this because he never saw it coming. His prophecy was that all the Jews were going to get killed. So he stands on the sea. On the other side are the Jews escaping. They're all cheering. Yeah, woo, you know, we're going to set up Israel now. Thanks, God. Blessings, blessings, blessings. That's what they're doing. They're going to go set up Israel. Allah and his angels are on the other side of the shore. And this is in quotes. This is a speech bubble of Allah speaking in the Quran in a quote bubble. And he says, damn you filthy Jew dogs. I'm going to kill you all. I'm going to destroy Israel. I'm going to make sure every single one of you is dead. And my justice upon you Jews is going to be swift. This is my prophecy. That's what he says. This is 1700 years ago. He says, I'm going to destroy Israel. I'm going to kill every single Jew. The reason I'm going to do it is because they escaped and made my original prophecy that they were going to be my slaves wrong. And it's going to be swift. So 3 incorrect prophecies in one book of the Quran. That's the reason they want to get rid of the Jews, because they're going to try and rewrite history to say Allah's prophecy was actually correct. And anyone who witnessed it is going to be dead. So there won't be anyone to argue with it. I'll find the bit in here, mate.
Bro, I've heard
you. The thing is, they argue this. This is in every single Quran. I've got 8 different versions of the Quran. Every single one of them's got this in it. Allah is a bit incompetent, if you ask me. Absolutely. Absolutely.
There you go. They're special needs kids, isn't they?
Right, let's find
Come on, Allah, what we doing next?
And the other bit that's interesting in the Quran is the Adam and Eve bit. Like, that is anyone who wants to know why Islam is such a disgusting, filthy load of garbage, please buy a Quran and read the Adam and Eve bit in the beginning of Al-Baqarah. Then compare it to the one that you know about that's in the Old Testament. I will say no more. Do that. That can be your homework if you're interested. You will love it.
Allah predestined the evil that Adam was going to do 40 years before he was born. So you can't blame. I don't know the story off the top of my head, but you can't blame Adam. Do you know what I mean? It's actually Allah.
Well, the thing is, according to Allah, Adam didn't do anything wrong.
There you go. Didn't Moses argue with him?
Fruit. It doesn't describe him doing that. It doesn't even describe Eve. It doesn't even mention Eve by name. It just says Adam's wife one time. That's it. She never appears in the story past then. So the snake isn't there either. It's Iblis, which is like another angel. Hang on, I'll find it. And the thing is, if I was using the old Arabic one, I know exactly where to find it in that book. But because we're using the Tajveed now, I've only just started reading it.
Different format, mate.
Well, do you know what? I'll show you it. It looks a lot nicer. It's got the Arabic in there. Like, that's what it looks like. That's why I bought this bigger one, so I can say, look, Muslims, I'm not making it up. That's what it says.
I've not seen my cat in 3 weeks, mate.
Oh, I bet she's loving it. She's going to get fed now. No more squirrels.
Yeah. She's got her food. I can hear her eating.
I'm going to find it. Al-Baqarah. And the good thing about this one is it's got color coding on the letters. So where it has a blue letter, that means you drag out the letter. So when it says Allah and the second A is blue, it's Allah. You like drag it out to make it longer.
That's amazing.
This is another thing. When Muslims write, everyone who thinks they know about the Quran, this is one thing you must know if you're going to argue with Muslims. Let's go back to page 1 of Tajveed Quran. As we know, Muslims seem to think this book is perfectly preserved word for word. That is the quote. Allah's word, this book, the Quran, perfectly preserved word for word. That's what they say, right? But the only problem with that is they show you the Arabic, right? In the top corner there, that's the Arabic. Notice about that Arabic, there's vowels in there and there's dots on some of the letters. Now, when was the Quran supposedly written? 532 AD. When did they start using vowels and dots on the letters? 644 AD. So that means if it was perfectly preserved, it must have been written no later than 644 AD. But if it wasn't perfectly preserved, then it can be made in 532 AD. But the point is, A, it is not perfectly preserved today because it always has vowels in it. No Muslims, 0% of Muslims are using the one that doesn't have vowels in it. Sorry, Muslims, it's just a fact. You're wrong. Your Quran is not perfectly preserved because it has vowels and dots in there. And it even says in here, and I quote, letters were vowelized during the days of Al-Imam Ali, i.e. someone who was born in the middle of the 8th century or the end of the 7th century. So way after the Quran was written. And then also dots were placed on the letters which resemble each other during the days of Caliph Abdul Malik ibn Marwan, who was born even later. So if this guy is adding vowels and dots to the Quran to make it easier to read 100 years after you claim it was written, how is it perfectly preserved? How is there nothing removed, added, or corrupted? There are vowels in it now. It's obviously not perfectly preserved, Muslims. Just face facts. Stop being liars, cowards, and hypocrites. Face the fact like a man. Stop being a little baby crying about it. And then the other thing is, it says at the beginning, and this is like one of the worst sentences you'll ever read in any book, right? This has no punctuation in it. This is an actual sentence of Quran. It is of his glorious gifts upon us that he made his Quran easy to comprehend. So think about that, right? Easy to comprehend is last. There's no punctuation in the sentence whatsoever. There's literally no punctuation along that whole thing. So if I'm going to write this and make it easy to comprehend, like it claims, I would have just said, Allah gave us his easy to comprehend Quran, which is of his glorious gifts. And there'd be a comma. Now, isn't that much better sounding and much, it's like way more poetic than the one he's written here.
I think me and Allah share something in common.
Allah says, oh, you write a Quran then. You can't write a Quran like this. That's a proof that it's true. And it's like, well, I just rewrote one of your sentences, Allah, to be better. And it's got vowels and dots in it now, which it never had. So why didn't you know about vowels and dots, Allah?
Dyslexia.
Allah's dyslexic.
Trust me, mate. I've literally...
Allah's dyslexic. Like, he's got that thing where you can't read proper.
There you go. Mohammed had that as well. So yeah, Allah's dyslexic.
You know what? Now that I've read all these different Qurans, I don't believe that Muhammad was illiterate.
No.
And you know why? Because I read one of the hadiths, and this is one that is authentic. This is one that they accept as authentic hadith, right? The first time that Muhammad ever meets Allah was in his tent. So this is Muhammad doesn't have Allah. He's just in his tent, just doing his thing, right? Allah appears to him in the tent in a cloud of puff of smoke type thing. And he's like, I am Allah. I am God. You will be my prophet, Muhammad. I'm going to instruct you on how to lead humanity in the ways of Islam. What does Muhammad do? Muhammad looks up and goes, and runs out of the room. He like craps his pants and he's terrified. He's physically terrified by the appearance of Allah. So he goes, and he runs out of the room. So he cries and he runs home to his wife and he's like, and he's like, wife, I've been bewitched. No, he's like, wife, I have been bewitched by Satan. He actually thinks that Allah is Satan. Like, get that. The first time he saw Allah, Muhammad, Allah's prophet, guy with the perfect life everyone loves, who is equal to Jesus if you ask Muslims, he thought Allah was Satan. So how, if Allah is actually Allah, did his own prophet, who is perfect by all the Muslim accounts, think that Allah was Satan? Whoever saw Jesus and mistook him for Satan? Flipping no one ever has ever done that.
No one, bro.
And whoever thinks, whoever in the Old Testament had an experience of God or saw God or heard God or had anything to do with God and thought, hang on a minute, this is actually Satan. No one.
They knew how
That's
holy
mistake number one on Muhammad. Mistake number two on Muhammad. He runs home to his wife. Oh, wife, I have been bewitched by Satan. I think I have seen Satan. I don't know why he sounds Portuguese, but I'm crap at accents. So anyway, he goes home to his wife. And he's saying to his wife, oh, I've seen Satan. I've been bewitched. I think I'm going to die. And his wife goes, there, Muhammad. Don't worry about it, Muhammad. It is not really Satan you saw. It is Allah that you saw. And then he goes, oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Mistake number two, because Allah says in the Quran, Muhammad is such a great guy because he follows Sharia from the first moment he sees Allah. Now, he saw Allah, thought he was Satan, ran home to his wife, accepted his wife's testimony that he was wrong.
Only half a brain.
Sharia says a woman's testimony is worth half of a man's. You cannot accept half of a testimony. You have to accept your own. So that means Muhammad made a mistake when he mistook Allah for Satan. He made a second mistake when he allowed his wife's half of a testimony to convince him otherwise. And then he made a third mistake, formalizing the religion of Islam based on the previous two mistakes. So it's like, right, Muhammad doesn't follow Sharia like it claims. Allah lied. Allah looks like Satan, doesn't have a veil of light. He lied. And the entire religion of Islam comes out of two mistakes made by an illiterate grave-robbing paedophile called Muhammad, who thought he was flipping well Satan. But sure, it's perfectly preserved. Islam's a religion of peace. True, perfect religion. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, mate. Cool story,
mate.
Make it make sense.
Yeah,
Bro,
exactly. It's like, look, this is your own book, Muslims, that I'm using. This is out of the Quran. And it's not even like you can say I'm using a bad Quran. You were the ones that told me to buy this particular one. I didn't even want to use it. I was quite happy using my Taj Quran, you know, the mosque one.
COVID. What they need to hear is that's a you problem, not a me problem.
Yeah, my classic.
It's
I stopped using that because I was overusing it. Someone
bro,
said to
if
me,
it
you
ain't
keep
broke, don't
saying
fix
that like a
it,
million
bro.
times a day.
Brother, give me some of your oats. I need to send you
Brother,
that.
brother.
I need to give you. Listen, I am jet lagged, tired, dehydrated, but I love you, and I saw your
Oh, mate,
face.
it's good to have you back. And you
It's
know
so good
what?
to be
When
back,
I found out your flight was flying over Iran, my blood went cold. I
bro.
needed you to change that flight. I'm so glad you did because I
The,
couldn't sleep until you did that. I don't think I slept for that
the
week.
airspace was shut down today, I think.
Didn't I tell you? I knew it was going to be.
I,
And
I,
the
I'm,
UN
I'm
were
gonna
like, don't
Google it, but I
worry,
heard it was
guys,
shut
it's
down
going to be
today.
a ceasefire. And I was like, these guys talk rubbish. It's not going to be a
I
ceasefire.
do not want to be caught in Iran. Hello, Mr. King. We've just been having a look at your internet history. Could you step into this cubicle?
They'll
Oh,
probably be watching your channel, mate, just not admitting to it.
yeah, there you go.
They'll be watching a bit of
As
that
long
on
as-
your
like and subscribe, baby. Yeah, I was. Yeah, but I'm home now, and I'm 10 toes deep, and we are gonna go hard for Jesus. We're gonna go hard for Jesus.
Go on then. You're going to finish off with a prayer for us then, since I did the honors last time.
Okay, come on, holy fire. Take these off.
Yeah.
Dear God, loving Heavenly Father, I just thank you for the rest that you've given me. I thank you for the love. I thank you for the boldness. I thank you for the calmness that I can be still and know that you are Lord. Lord, we thank you so much for the technology that we have. We thank you so much for the love that we have. We thank you so much for the wisdom, because all wisdom comes from you. We let us grow in your word. Let us be as sharp as we need to be. Let us not conform to man's opinion, but to your opinion, and your Holy Spirit tell us how to act. Jesus, we give you all the glory. We're going to do the best that we can. We just ask that you're with us, that you guide our footsteps, that you give us the words to speak, that you soften our hearts to love our brothers and our sisters, that you prepare our hands for battle and our fingers for war, that you keep our minds sharp. Jesus, we love you. Maranatha, come soon. But until that day, give us the energy, give us the focus, give us the strength, us the sharpness to be effective tools in your hand to defeat all false gods and bring people to the truth. The truth is a person, the truth is you, Jesus Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach. We love you, Lord. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Come on,
Amen to that. That was terrific prayer, by the way,
come,
Adam.
bruv.
So
Been
I'd just like to add a
practicing.
little thing is when I do prayers, I make them short and sweet. So what I'm going to do today is say, Dear Lord, please give us the strength in the coming months to stand up to these disgusting, cowardly liars, the Muslim terrorists that are infecting our YouTubes and our countries, who are full of this false doctrine from Satan, claiming that his name is Allah. Please allow us the wisdom to overpower these guys without turning to violence like they seem to
Mm,
like to do.
mm,
And also give us the temperance not to react to their silly little baiting that they do like
mm,
children,
mm.
so that we can remain aloof to their silly little childish behaviors and not be dragged into the mud to fight them like animals.
Come on.
And above that, thank you for all the blessings that you have given me, my brand new computer after I got hacked, the success my channel has seen after being told I would go nowhere. And please allow me to continue to do your work and defeat Satan, who is Allah, and bring your glory to every single person that I meet, see, or hear. Yours is the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Brother, I love you. I'm going to go. And may the peace of Christ be with you.
You too,
Bye.
mate. Cheers for that. See you
Pleasure,
later.
brother.
And there goes Adam. So I think we'll call it a day. That's been a bit of a left turn for the stream. We didn't really go through too much of the art of war, but I feel like you know, bearing in mind what's been going on in the news and in the Middle East with the war and everything, and the scabby Muslims attacking us with their lies and their hypocrisy and all the rest of it, it needed to be nipped in the bud. So I'm glad we did that. But that's going to be all for tonight. So I hope you will enjoy that and you learned something. God bless you all. And I'll see you, lovely people, in the next one. Bye now.